Hey RecLess fans, this is Tom here, and I'm proud to announce that this episode and all of Season 5 is brought to you by our friends at Civic Plus. For all of our Parks and Rec pros, do you ever feel like you're constantly putting out fires? Registrations, facility bookings, team calendars, it's non-stop juggling. And all that admin work? It's keeping you from what really matters, serving your community. That's where Civic Plus comes in. Their comprehensive parks and recreation management solution streamlines everything, from online registration to facility scheduling and payments, all in one place. Parks and Recreation Management by Civic Plus automates the busy work that bogs you down so you can spend less time on paperwork and more time creating unforgettable programs for your residents. Civic Plus is the trusted partner of thousands of high-performing civic leaders, helping them balance better services with limited resources. With over 25 years of experience and a team of 900 experts, Civic Plus powers over 10,000 organizations and touches 340 million lives every day. If you're ready to trade burnout for impact, then visit civicplus.com. The best run local governments run on Civic Plus technology. And now, on with the show.
Welcome to Season 5 of RecLess, the podcast making you smarter and more knowledgeable about the field of parks and recreation. Your hosts are Shane Mize, Jay Tryon, and Tom Venniro, three career-long friends from across the country bringing you a surprise guest each episode. Listen in on a great conversation, maybe take some notes, and definitely enjoy a couple of laughs. This is RecLess.
All right. Hey, Shane, welcome back. Jay, welcome.
What's up? What's up?
What's up?
All good
Tiny
on your
Tim.
end, Jay? Yes, Tiny Tim is with us. Jay, everything
Yeah,
good
Jay,
on
do you
your
need our
end?
counsel? You need our help solving your camp problems? Tom and I are here to help.
I am all good.
No, you sure?
I'm good.
I guess so.
Maybe our guest is the problem you're having trouble with. Tiny Tim sounds like a camp name.
Well, hopefully it's okay. It's not a serious issue, Jay. I know that they
Could be
range.
anything.
Big
Yeah,
camps
if you're
issues,
involved,
yes.
it probably is pretty serious at this point.
Yes. You guys ready to go?
So ready.
So ready. Here we go. Welcome to RecLess, everyone. We are now into Season 5, Episode 3, our 81st episode in total. With me, as always, I have Jay Tryon and Shane Mize.
Who'd have
How's
thought
it
it?
going? Yeah,
Right?
right. How's it going today, guys?
It's good, man. Can't complain.
Yeah, just had some tacos. I worked out. I'm on vacation. This is
Right.
vacation, Shane.
Vacation Shane's real laid back.
Real laid back.
Doesn't look any different. It's got the same clothes, same hat.
I slept until 9 instead of 8. That's what vacation Shane does.
Glad to hear that you are enjoying your vacation while everybody else is in the thick of it all. Jay
Thick of it.
just joined us off of a fresh situation with camp, which tends to happen from time to time. We've got a very our largest event of the year coming up tomorrow. And so we're in the middle of those 24-hour preparations, but we're in a good spot. We got a drone show. So the first in the area, we're pretty excited about that. See how people receive it. You never know. People still think fireworks are happening. We get the questions, when are the fireworks getting off?
So no fireworks, just drones.
Yep, we've replaced it. But there is a fireworks drone display within the drone show. We
Okay.
just wanted to make sure we're giving people a little bit of what they're expecting, just in case they don't know about this yet.
Are y'all just getting around to 4th of July up there? Is that how it works, or what's going on? It's the 40th of July for y'all? Is that what y'all celebrate?
It is. Well, Parks and Rec Month, we do 4th of July every week.
Every week.
So-
Okay.
No, in reality, we just have a pretty highly concentrated county with a lot of municipalities. So everybody does a 4th of July fireworks show. We decided to do ours at the end of summer.
Gotcha.
Well, end of summer, I guess, midsummer, end of July. So yeah, we're excited about that. And maybe more exciting than that is our guest today. We are with Tiny Tim. That is our pseudo name for the day. I bet you all are trying to work those wheels in the brain to figure out who we have with us today. Any guesses based on the nickname
And the butterfly photo?
and the butterfly?
So they've don't butterflies, they start out as something else, right? Chrysalis or whatever that word is.
That's true. I think you're thinking a little too far into this. So we're going to just cut the rest of this conversation off and get into it. I am Tom Venniro,
They
by the way.
rebirthed. They
Is
rebirthed
it-
themselves. Is that what
Is
you're
it
saying?
implied? Yeah, we're moving on here, Shane. Is it implied that when someone announces or opens the show and they don't say their name but say the other two, do you not have to say your name? Because I never do.
I always do.
Yeah, you
We're
do.
80
You do.
episodes in.
You're good at this. You are good. All right. So a little opener for you both today. We got conference coming up, NRPA conference, and it seems like it's far away, but it's really not, right? We've had some conversation at times of some states that we want to visit that we haven't. We've also talked about maybe some of the best existing conference states or cities, or even if it was just a state conference, some of the experiences we've had. So, kind of a similar question, but we
The worst.
NRPA.
You're gonna
No, we're
ask
not
us
going to
the
go. We're
worst
not going to go the
conferences.
worst. Not
Gotcha.
today. That's for another
Okay.
day. We do that after conference. We don't want to have to answer any of those questions while we're there.
That's right. That's right.
So we have NRPA that announced the next, what, 4 years, 5 years of conferences? Is that correct? Through 29, I
Four.
believe.
Columbus, St. Louis,
Philly,
Definitely not St.
Philly.
Louis.
Philly, Utah.
Utah. My bad. Yep.
All right, so we weren't here to fact check. That wasn't my
Maybe I
goal,
know
but
something y'all don't know, and then you're going to be
it's
apologizing to
possible.
me.
It's possible. So we know where it's gonna be. We know where it's been. We know certain states that we've either liked to go personally on vacation. Where is a city that you would like to see NRPA conference that it has not been, and that it has not been announced that it will be in the next 4 or 5 years? And I want you to think outside of the barriers of city size. So just, don't consider the fact that NRPA has to obviously
It's not
work
realistic.
logistics. Yeah, that's
Pflugerville?
okay. That's okay. Yeah, and it can't be your own community, okay? It can't be in your own city. So
It's actually terrible when you host it. I don't know
I
if Jay would
hosted it.
agree.
I want
Yeah, I didn't love hosting it
Yeah.
because I like traveling.
Yeah. I didn't like hosting it for different reasons than travel, but yeah. Okay. So the premise is pick a city and you're going first.
I will. I'll go first. And I love the South. I think we've all talked about how New Orleans was probably one of our favorite conference sites collectively. Maybe not everybody's top or number one, but we all had a really great experience and we're excited for it to go back there whenever it does. In fact, Shane, you've had maybe a trip in the past where you've gone back with Hannah or you were just planning to and you didn't end up doing it. So definitely a city we'd like to go back to. For me, Charleston or Savannah are two of those historical southern cities. Definitely love to go to another southern city. A lot of history, a great place to walk, really nice architecture. The food scene is really great. Antonio painted a great picture for us. So if I were to pick a place today for NRPA to plan, I would go with Savannah, Georgia. Had a really great time there. I'd love to get back, and I'd like to experience that with all of you and all the other individuals that attend.
So selfishly, I want to drive there and I want it to be as cold as possible within driving distance. And it hasn't been here before that I know of. So I'd say Denver. I've been to Denver a couple times myself. I think it's a beautiful city, or had been when I had previously visited it. I would imagine it would be fairly cool, easy to get to as far as an international airport. And I think I could drive there in less than 2 days. So Denver would be really cool.
Less than 2 days, wouldn't it? It wouldn't be that far from you, right?
No, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. I mean, I think the mountains add a little bit to it, but like, I think it's very drivable. Day and a half. So
Your Bronco can go through, over,
That's
under
right.
the mountains.
That's right.
I have not done a lot of traveling on the West Coast, and there's two cities that came to mind right away, and I'm just going to go with one of those two and not cheat and say two. But Portland, Oregon. I've never been anywhere around the Portland area. I've heard awesome things. Yeah, everything I've heard about it is, great outdoor scene, great food scene, beer scene, just kind of a little bit of everything, a little eclectic, some great music. So I would say Portland.
Okay, NRPA, take notice. That
Please.
said, we are very excited for Orlando, and we are excited for some of the future cities coming that we know that it hasn't been to, right? So Philly, Columbus, I believe, those are two cities that are a little closer to me. That's exciting as well. Areas that I don't know that NRPA would have even thought about. I'm not sure how it got in the mix, but very excited for that.
I'm very excited about Philly. I really am.
Okay.
I'm really excited about Salt Lake. I've never been to Utah, and I've wanted to go to Utah for a while.
Shane was there. His first conference was 40 years ago, so he actually made that one.
I did go to that one. It was good. Salt Lake was nice.
Good discussion. For those of you listening, all two of you, we are on the
Thanks
heels
for staying on.
Yes, thanks for staying through that. I'm very excited about our guest. I met our guest probably during an Agents of Change symposium.
In Austin?
Attended a few of those in Austin and in Raleigh with our guest. So our guest, some fun facts about them to start off. Plays drums and did so professionally and toured.
Really?
Yes, some of their likes or actually loves, they love cutting grass, they love traveling, love parades, and taking walks and wandering in parks.
Man, I don't like any of those things.
So, all right, let's move on to the professional side of their story. So let's tie this into one of our recent guests on the tail end of season 4. Our guest started with MWR and was stationed in Germany. Not a bad place to start a Parks and Rec career. They then took their career for a good chunk of the beginning of their career into Georgia in Fayette County and spent the bulk of the time in Georgia, about 15 years, in DeKalb County, which at the time or during that time frame, they were part of...
Initials DS?
No.
Oh.
No. But they were in Atlanta when the first Atlanta conference happened, whenever that was, I don't know, 10, 12 years ago, maybe. Spent some time in Huntsville, Alabama, but bookending the Huntsville time, they were with their current agency. So with their current agency for a little bit of time, took a 9-month journey with Huntsville, Alabama, and now is currently back in a city as director that is going to be hosting the NRPA Conference in the next few years, in 2028. Any guesses? Our guest is an Academy member, a recent inductee, and also serves on the board for the Academy.
Did we run into this guest when we were having breakfast in Dallas? You and I?
We did with some of the Dirty Dozen Agents of Change individuals, I believe.
Yeah.
Yes, our guest is the Director of Parks and Recreation for the city of Columbus, Ohio. Please welcome Bernita Reese.
Well, hello, everybody. It is
Hello.
so great. Yeah, you mentioned you hate all those things. I know. Shane, I was like, come on, work with me.
Listen, the most overrated things are fireworks, parades, and parties. Most overrated things.
You
can add
gotta love
smiling to that.
parades.
I don't know
You
what
gotta
kind of
love
parties you're going
parades.
to.
It's a little bit of all ages that gets in them. And, so depending on where you are, it could bring back some childhood memories. It could bring back some fun memories. It could even bring back some of those party memories too.
Yeah, for sure.
Sounds like Shane's got some trauma with parades.
That's right. And
Yeah.
parties.
And parties. Well,
And
Bernita,
walking.
thank you. Yeah, well, definitely walking. We know that. Bernita, thank you for joining us and being a part of RecLess with us today and ahead of our NRPA conference. It's a pleasure to have you.
You know what? It's a pleasure to be here. Before we get started, just want to wish everybody, all the professionals and everybody out there, a happy Park and Rec Month as we are finalizing a few days here left of it. And so make the best of it, enjoy and recreate ourselves. We don't do that enough.
Listen, I'll tell you. So I'm on vacation. I have heard people talk about walking 10,000 steps. So yesterday, no one on this podcast would believe me, Bernice, but I walked 10,000 steps.
Yes.
In our park system, I walked our trail system, walked 10,000 steps. I woke up with the 2 largest cramps in my calves I've ever had in my whole life. I'm never going to do it again. It was what a waste of an hour and a half of my life.
You know
I'm
what?
sore.
I probably would do the same about right now.
Whew, sore.
Now, if we actually did the classic Disney experience, you'd be walking more than 10,000 steps, and I would never do that to you. So
I appreciate you for that.
Yes. We'll do the Disney Light version, and let's get into today though. I want to talk and start a little bit about what we just kind of prefaced. The conference is coming up in Orlando, and Bernita, you've been a part of many conferences, but also a part of hosting one. And your city, Columbus, now has the opportunity to showcase all that it does in front of the entire nation and more, coming up in 2028 in Columbus. Can you talk to us a little bit about how did that happen? What was the process? Were you consulted? I assume that you had to be for something like that. And, what should we be excited about for Columbus?
First of all, we work with Experience Columbus, and that's like our convention visitors bureau. And they were excited. They kept putting in offers to host a conference here in Columbus. And so what I didn't know, there was one side that they were doing. I was on this whole different piece going, hey, you guys got to come to Columbus. Every conference I go to, I say, you have to come to Columbus. And so someone said, we're thinking about Ohio. I said, no, I didn't say Ohio. I said Columbus. Because, most of the time people say Ohio, they think Cincinnati, Cleveland. We never get the C that should be called out. And that's the C of Columbus. And so here it is out of the blue. The mayor came to me and said, we're going to put in for it. We think we got a strong bid. We may be able to pull it off. If you know anybody, just see what you can do. And I was like, okay. I'm sitting and all of a sudden I hear we won the bid from Experience Columbus. And I was like, they're coming to my city. How awesome is that? Now, Shane, trust me, a lot of work. A lot of work. I do know that. But the other piece of it is we get to show off and highlight our city. And so we're really excited about what a great time we really get to do this with. When you think about Columbus, I'll give you a few little knickknacks here. We have a street, Nationwide Insurance, real huge here in the city of Columbus. But we have a boulevard, Nationwide Boulevard. You get 3 stadiums in one on the same street.
Okay.
Blue Jackets hockey, Nationwide Arena. You got our baseball Clippers, Huntington Baseball Field, and then that championship of soccer, Lord.com, the Crew. Yeah. So you talk about sports, we have it all in one place for you. So you're going to get to see that, but you're also going to get to eat some of the wonderful foods that I enjoy. I mean, extra special, our downtown area where Convention Center is called Short North. It's just north of downtown, a little short part right before you get to the Ohio State University and right before you get to the south side of town. So it's right there, everything right in one place. I think people are going to really be excited when they come here.
It sounds fun. I think Jay may be able to speak to this too. I was in Houston when Houston hosted and helped a little bit with the host committee where Joe Turner needed it. The only thing that stunk about it is there's so much socializing that happens when you're walking back to your hotel or in the morning or when you're sitting in line grabbing a coffee, and you don't really get to do those things. You're driving home every night. You're driving from home. So while everyone else stumbles out from the last night of socializing and they walk and they see each other and you talk and you grab a coffee and you're going to the thing, you're waking up earlier. You potentially have kids. You're trying to get to school or a spouse. Then you're trying to find a parking garage and getting in. And so what I hated about hosting was you felt like you got half the conference. You got all the sessions for sure. You got most of the socials for sure, but some of that fellowship that you got in the in-between spaces just feels like you lost out on it. You will have heard that they had done something because they went to the third bar and you had to stop at the second. You're like, I got to get home. I still got 30 minutes back to drive or whatever, and so I think it's great that you're hosting. It's a lift. First of all, you've got staff members on all committees. And I don't think, Tom and Jay, everyone understands how many committees there are. And your local host committee is huge and so much responsibility. Transportation, hotels, offsite institutes, program committee, conference things. There's so much. And then all the people you've got to get that just greet at the airport, greet at the terminals, greet at the entrances outside of every single hotel or venue that you're trying to get people excited because you're just trying to build up. You're trying to do the Disney experience, Tom, of getting people, hey, I'm here now. This is going to be a great week. It's a lot of work. Were you involved at all on the Atlanta side when you were in Atlanta?
So I was in the Atlanta side and served on the local host committee. So 2014, if I can recall correctly, 2014, we were in Atlanta. I did actually the 5K, but was involved in, you name it, you said it right. It's smiling at the airport, it's smiling at hotels, it's packing the bags before people come. So there's all these things you do before conference that people don't realize. They come to conference and everything is done and they pick up their bag, their registration and all these pieces and they start moving, but they're unaware of all the things that have happened behind the scene. A lot of work. Now I will tell you, Shane, one thing I did. I took advantage and I stayed downtown Atlanta
Yeah.
to avoid, first of all, everybody knows Atlanta traffic is crazy. So,
Yep.
it's almost like you have to do due diligence, prepare yourself. And if you're able to do that and stay where the conference is at, you're avoiding all these different headaches that could come. So it's almost like taking an opportunity and say, I'm still going to be out of town, but yet I'm still in town. So that's really what I'm kind of looking forward to here in Columbus. But a lot of good things. I mean, you talk about Columbus, there's another piece. We got COSI, which is our science museum. We have a Veterans Memorial Museum that often people don't hear about, but it's all about museum of veterans from early in the 1800s all the way to current date. And so there's all these pieces that are here in the city that people don't know about. I'll give you a secret. So when NRPA delegation came to Columbus, and it was earlier this year, they said, we didn't know Columbus was so great. We didn't know this. And I said, yeah, you didn't know, but they said, who knew? That was the word. Who knew? I said, we knew. We just need everybody else to know. And they were like, who knew? And so now when we see each other at NRPA, we holler, who knew? I said, we knew.
I
So
love
that's
that.
our phrase.
I love
That's our
that.
phrase that we do. Yeah. So I said, that's a good little tagline for us because a lot of people don't know. And I tell people we're a hidden gem in the state of Ohio. Columbus is. Yeah.
Before the guys hop in, you've lived in the South, you've worked in places where Atlanta and the South in general foster a set of emotions that people that are from that area connect to that area, and they live and die with that space. They'll fight for that space. You can't talk bad about the South or Atlanta and without someone saying, no, that's my hometown. So what made you connect to Columbus, which I would imagine socioeconomic, Rust Belt, a totally different climate, culture, food, etc. You go up there, but I hear you talking about it, and it's we. This is your home. It feels like when you talk about it, you're not talking about, oh, Columbus is great. You're talking about like, this is my space. What is it about Columbus that made you connect that quickly to it?
When I first came, let me just be very transparent. I first came to Columbus, it was 2018. And 2017, I came for my interview process and did a lot of studying. You know how we do it. We research and don't know. And came to visit, and I said, wow, I love this city. Now, you talk about the South. I left Georgia, and it was probably about 60 some degrees because we were talking about December of 2017.
Yeah.
Landed in Columbus and it was snow on the ground. I said, who did this to me? So I got off the plane, immediately started running to find a scarf because I was like, okay, I came a little prepared. I had a coat, but I didn't have a scarf. And it was snowing and it was snow on the ground. And I knew the next day they had already told me, be prepared. We're going for tours. I was like, get yourself together, Bernita. You have really failed on dressing properly for this trip. And once I got here, toured the city, I was like, I like it. Moving here in 2018, it really became a part of, I love this city. I got to know Columbus, and Columbus has a phrase we call see bus. I say see us because it's Columbus and it's us. And so we are what everybody should see. And so it's all about us being seen, but just feeling at home. Columbus has this little small town feel, but we're the 14th largest city in the country. And people don't know that piece. They think, oh, Columbus is small. No, we're not small. We're the 14th largest. And, when people think of the Midwest, we're the second largest in the Midwest, Chicago being the first. And so here it is. Columbus has this city. It's a small town feel, but it's a city. And so being from Atlanta, it gave me that opportunity to still have the city. We got Broadway shows that are coming here. I mean, big time festivals. You get all the sports, so I got a chance to still have that big city feel. So it became home to me. And I think that was the love that I really shared kind of coming into Columbus.
Yeah, I wouldn't have guessed that it was the 14th largest. And I think that was kind of one of those other things that I was thinking to my head when I saw the announcement for NRPA is, you always hear about it needs to be large to have hotel rooms and convention centers and all that. And I think obviously a lot of people might have thought the same thing, like, oh, I didn't know Columbus was that big. And then you look into it and you learn that. So that's exciting. I'm going to switch gears a little bit and kind of want to dive more into your department, just because I don't know much about the agency as a whole. And typically when we have a guest on here and I go on their website. So I'm on your website right now. And I think, there's all the traditional activities that you would see with events and community wellness and different things with nature centers. You have a whole section that says youth success. Okay. And it has these 4 categories that we may all do in different ways in our departments, but the way that you highlight them with neighborhood violence intervention, career pathways, community outreach, access to recreation. I mean, it seems to be that is like a foundational component of your department, which is awesome. A lot of this talks about job readiness programs and, providing services that are so intricate to provide success for kids. Can you talk about like what that foundation looks like? And is there one program that stands out that is probably at the forefront of what you do for the youth?
I would say, so they're all hubbed under the youth development division. And so when you talk about the youth development, it's everything from our preteens all the way up to really our adulthood. And so we start a job readiness program. So I'm going to give you a little bit of what it kind of evolves around for all of them. Job readiness program starts at age 14. We're able to take a lot of those teens, work them throughout the summer, but then we keep some of them throughout the year. We work with outside entities as well as internal entities. And so we create jobs for them. And then what we do is we go back and we hire them. If they're 18 or older, we can actually put them in jobs that we work year round. So it's really a win-win for us. And then our intervention programs, we have interventionists that go into the schools. They're in high schools, they're in middle schools, they're at our community centers. They're working with some of the, I would say, challenged young people. Ones that maybe are truant, don't want to go to schools, some of the gang activity, some of the ones who are probably giving parents problems at home. They're working with them on academics. They're working with them on social behaviors, mental behaviors. And then we partner with our public health department, our intervention team, and then they provide social workers. So they're getting a complete package. Some of those young people are also in the job readiness program. So now maybe they didn't have a resource that they couldn't maybe afford at home, but now we're providing a resource through employment. And then we're working on the social and mental behaviors. And then we're working on the academic behaviors. So now we're giving holistic programming to a young person. And then when you talk about, there's 2 more parts to that. We call it Centers Without Walls. We go into the schools and we work with a lot of the schools where they don't have programs, and we provide programs in those schools. We do pop-up programs, and that is we have a van and it's all these cartoon characters on the van, and they go out and they do pop-up programming in parks, provided in areas where we don't have facilities. But then the one piece that I will talk about, and that is our voice program, which I think is really unique. We have staff that go into the hospitals, sit bedside with individuals. And these individuals have 2 things. They've either been shot or they've been stabbed in some type of violent criminal activity or violent activity. I don't want to say criminal, violent activity. Those individuals are placed in the hospital. Our staff go in, sit bedside because the hospital calls them. When they call them, they're talking to them directly about how can we turn your life around at this point. So imagine a person who is really in a troubled situation. They're talking with the individual, they're talking with families about how we can turn them around. And they have right now, it's a 89%. I mean, percentage very high to where these individuals don't go back into that walk of life. And so when you talk about what we're doing, it's all about how to make a difference in a young person's life. And then some of the things that they're doing, they get incentives through the foundation. The hospital foundation are giving incentives to these young people. There's some requirements. You have to make all your medical appointments, You also must make sure that you're in school if you're in school, or you're providing some additional resources, we actually partner with outside entities for food, for furniture, for utilities, for housing, all these different pieces to make sure a person has a positive walk of life that they can stay within. And so when you talk about the staff, it is trauma for the staff to be involved in it, but it's also fulfilling.
That's incredible. And I love the data you had. I wish the toughest part about what I would imagine to be the toughest part about a program like that when you're presenting it or showing the impact is that you almost can't do the ghost of Christmas past, right? You almost can't say, this is what this child would have found themselves into, this young person, if we didn't have this program where they were doing this, this, and this. And they can come up and say that. They can go before council and say, I'm now on my way to pre-law or whatever, and I'd have never had that chance without these 3 opportunities that Columbus provided me. But teen programming is so tough to have an input output, like so much support in equals so much output. It's tough for any of our programs, but it feels like the toughest, because you can see in some ways seniors get a little healthier, right? You can see in some ways, other than maybe youth athletics, I don't know if we have something that's just an X factor that is a catalyst for sparking, especially on the social services type side of the offerings that we provide. Like, because some people are going to take to it. Some people are still going to, they just live in tough environments. And no matter what you're exposing them to, they're also exposed to whatever they're exposed at the house and their family and an aunt or uncle that may leaning them the wrong way. And so a council member or a supporter or donor or a pledger or whatever can look and say, well, only 50% got out or whatever. And is that really worth our time? But I think it's almost like that. What's the story? The starfish story, or you can't save them all, but the person saves that one. It meant the world to that one. I love that you're providing that type of experiences for those students, I guess, those young folks.
Yeah, you have to look at it from that perspective. I mean, we have people that come back and tell us testimonials all the time, and young people, and it's great to hear. Here recently, I'll go through one, and that is a young man who wasn't in school, was failing all his classes. Our interventions went in, talked to him. The mom said now he's turned it around. And how we're getting these testimonies is we do a well palooza. Is what we call it. And they come out and there's food and there's family. The families come and those individuals really tell their story. And so, here it is now. He's passing all classes. He's in school regular. His mom said he is home regular, not hanging with the crowd that he used to. Really a total turnaround. But a lot of it, and it does, it's not just the intervention, but it is our public health department that bring those social workers with us because they're able to really see the mental component piece, which adds another entity to it on how do we work with the individual from a holistic perspective.
I remember, and I know the guys want to hop in, I remember in college, someone was talking about social service programming and how it's important. I was in grad school, how it was important to the Parks and Rec offering that we had. And they referenced the story about addiction. And when you think of addiction, everyone thinks of the mouse or rat lab story where you had a mouse in a box with just 2 options, the water that's laced with some sort of drug, let's say cocaine. And the mouse will try one, then they'll try the other. And then that's all it does is it hits that one. That's and you say, oh, this mouse is addicted. He'll never make the right choice again. And that was like in the 30s or 40s. Somewhere in the 70s, someone said, we're not running this correctly. And they said, let's make this mouse utopia. And let's have other mouses in there for them to play with and even have sexual partners. And let's have areas for them to run and other things for them to play on and still have those 2 options. And what you found was very few of those mice ever went to the water with the cocaine. And even when they did, they were never addicted to it because they had this full life of opportunities and all these friends and things to play on. And when we look at addiction as, oh, it's just one or the other, I think we don't also think of the scarcity that some people are going through. And I love that you're providing the red balls and the friends and all the infrastructure that allows these folks the opportunity to not have to choose from one or other water sources, you know.
No, you have to give some resources. And I think that's what people, they have to look at it. We're urban city. And so, if you don't have those resources there, they'll find something else.
Yeah.
So you have to provide what it's going to take for them to do the day-to-day positive decision making. And that's the choice I think that we try and provide.
We'll be right back.
Hey, listener, we're excited to announce our social this year at NRPA. We are partnering with the Young Professional Network to host a social Tuesday, 4:30 to 6:30 at Topgolf. Thanks to the generous support from Rec Technologies, there will be free food, free drinks, and free golf. What more could you need on a Tuesday? So save the date. We'll see you there. This episode of RecLess is brought to you by Rec Technologies, the modern Parks and Rec software your department deserves. So here's a potentially familiar scenario. It's 5 minutes before the court booking system opens for the week, and your front desk staff is having trouble getting into the spreadsheet system, and the staff member in charge of the program is out sick. That's where working with Rec Technology solves this problem. Costa's laminated schedules for intuitive, mobile-friendly online calendars that are so easy to use, even the pickleballers can't complain. Take advantage of the modern problem-solving tech that Rec Technology provides, and leave the analog problems to some other department. If you're in Orlando for NRPA, check out Rec Technology's session on OpenAI and how to actually use AI beyond ChatGPT on Tuesday. You can find them at their booth on 426. To learn more about Rec Technologies and what they provide, reach out at rec.us/partner. Okay, now back to the show.
I want to go back to the social services piece because all of this is obviously it's so impactful, and that's what we do, right? When you really boil it down, I've always had these debates or heard individuals talk about it that we're not a social service. We're not, but we are. We may not call it social services, and there may be another social services department in another agency. At the very core, though, even if it's a base program like a summer camp or a recess camp, we had our camp director, our camp coordinator tell a story. She's new. This is her first year, first time running camp, but she's been involved with camps for 5 years. Her name's Cora Hahn. She's a rock star, and she's been doing amazing things. And she told a story to our staff about this young individual who had a disability that basically put him in a situation where he physically he was a certain age, right? So he was say 8 or 9, but mentally he was 4 or 5 years old.
Right.
And in school, I mean, and think of the challenge that is for parents and guardians, right? You're constantly worried, and I can't put myself into those shoes, but I could imagine, right? You're constantly worried. You're protecting. You want to make sure that any parent wants to make sure their child is in a situation where they can thrive. And during school, she told the story that they could not get this individual to socialize. Shut down completely when it came to the verbalization aspect, the just trying to interact with individuals. Came to camp, and they were reluctant to bring their child to camp. And by the end of camp, this individual had just come out of their shell to an extent, right? But something that the parents had not seen, the communication. And they fell in love with this child too, right? The staff had relationships where they just really were so fond of the individual, and the individual was so fond of them. And I tell this at the very base level to the staff that when we send them home to their families, youth, we want them to tell a story about the individuals that they interacted with. We want you to make an impact. And many times those individuals will remember you years and years and years down the line. They might run into you somewhere and say, and you may not think they would remember you, but they do. Yeah. You were my counselor. I always loved being around you. You showed me such a great time. I had so much fun. It meant the world to me. We don't think about summer camp or just the base programs as a social service, but to an extent they are. So I guess my question going from that background is, for an organization that obviously you're larger than many, maybe from a smaller organization, how would you go about selling that piece to elected officials and saying, hey, we are a social service. You think we're Parks and Recreation, and you might think that has a certain connotation and a definition to it, but we go way deeper than that. And how would you get them to buy in to going further than the basic?
Yeah, Tom, I'll give you an example, and this is actually when I was in DeKalb County, Georgia, and worked with a young person who was 9 years old. Today he's 26. I what we would call special needs, didn't talk a lot, but understood. However, this young man, very unique technology wise. And so my first day, you know how we all look crazy in some things? I just admit, I didn't know he could because I wasn't there when his mom dropped him off. I didn't know that he could understand. I didn't know he could talk, he could hear. And, I'm sitting here going through the whole format and he's running around, got me chasing him and all these different. And I'm like, man, I'm calling his mom. I can't, we can't do this. We're not a one-on-one camp. We're inclusive, but we're not a one-on-one. So I called his mom. His mom said, wait a minute. He's not listening? Oh, I'll be up there. So she came up there. She was like, oh, he knows what to do. Sit down. And he sat down and I said, whoa, 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 hold on. He understands? I said, he making me look crazy? Bring him back to the car. So she brings him back and I was like, what? And we became the best of friends, but it took a step further. And then what I did was showed our really at that point in time, accounting commissioners, how you can take an individual and really utilize their skill set, even though it may be very limited. This young man learned how to operate cameras, video cameras, call out a call in his ear through the radio. And he would zoom in, zoom out, focus, refocus. And once they saw it, it became a realistic view for them. So it wasn't necessarily me having to tell a story, it was me showing them. And that opportunity talked about how do you take a young person who has what they would call very limited skill set, but expand it to almost a career path, and still to this day operates cameras. So you talk about videography at its best. Now you've created a whole opportunity for someone. And so when you talk up to your politician, your legislators, you want them to see the impact that you're making in a person's life. I don't need them to realize, oh, we say we do this, but how are we showing them? A lot of it is data too. You got to have the right data. You got to make sure they're seeing improvements on numbers. So when we're talking about crime, what does that look like? You offer a program. Is the crime down during that program? Are you making a difference? Is there a turnaround for the duration of that program? And so those are things you're able to put in their hand and allow a person to see, we're making a difference because of this program. Here it is. You don't have a turnaround for this group, but because you've got this magnitude of individuals working with them, that's something that I think is priceless, and you have to be able to show it.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I believe that the challenge that we all face is potentially not having the right data, providing the justification to have the resources. And that's where a lot of us, I think, come into those challenges that, okay, now you run into a situation, you have an individual who could really benefit from a particular service. And then you might find yourself, or agencies might find themselves in a position where they can't offer that service. They can't offer that support because they don't have the resources. I'll go back. I mean, I've been in recreation for a while. You think 20 years ago in recreation, we weren't strong on providing data. We've always said, how do we tell our story? How do we tell our story? So it was, oh, let's tell our story versus I'll show you my story. And I think, here it is. We got a unique group here. I call them the Data Hub team. They're the ones who dig in those smart sheets and analyze things and come up with the numbers and really, really do the research and assess the programs to tell us what we're doing and make it an asset of value to show, here it is, you all did an 80% difference within this program versus a 30% in this. So now we're making decisions based on data. Do we continue to go down this path because we see the difference versus we don't see it here as much? But that makes a difference for us. And I think that's how we're really looking at business differently in recreation now. And I think this is happening across the country. It's not just here in Columbus, but I think everybody's seeing the value and the asset of
how do we provide those numbers that tell us this is what really needs to be done?
You mentioned like 20 years ago what it looked like now or then versus now. And it's funny you say that because I started with Mecklenburg County about 20 years ago. And at that time, they didn't have specific staff members that were tasked to work on data. And now there is. There's, they have a data analyst that's her job. Yes. Was all about the numbers and all about, pulling reports to show this and prove this and all that. And, I obviously more departments have that now than they did 5 years ago, 10 years ago plus. But the more we can focus on that and try to sell that to elected officials to say, hey, we need this position and this is why. The city next to us is doing it or the county next to us is doing it. And, they're being able to get all this information that we wouldn't get if we just try to add it to someone else's responsibilities on top of it, because it can be a full-time job.
It is a full-time job. I'll tell you, when you think one of the young ladies, she just received her master's in analytical data in May. And so you start talking about that, but then GIS mapping. And so, all these different pieces that we really didn't have some years ago that are really assets. We're able to break down districts for our city council now. What services do you have in your districts? What parks do you have? What does it look like? And so we're mapping all these different things. We mapped within our urban forestry master plan. That's a huge one. And what we kind of looked at health-wise, what does that look like across the city? So it is certain areas of the city you could see where health was higher. And when you talk about health, and it was asthma, and it was breathing problems, and it was all the things that trees probably cause or could eliminate. And so looking at it from that perspective, we were able to put all that into a map and show every council member how it's making an impact in their district.
You're one of the largest 15 cities in the country. That comes with its own set of, I think, advantages and disadvantages. Yes. But also, you're in what I think a lot of people from the outside would consider a college town, in the sense that you have the Ohio State University in there. And so, unlike maybe Ann Arbor or Athens, Georgia, or Tuscaloosa, Alabama, those are also college towns. College Station and A&M. You have these traditional, Norman, Oklahoma. You have these traditional towns that are college towns, but they're not nearly as big as well. So you're in one of these, like I guess maybe in Austin has UT, but also has the city of Austin, and maybe LA's got USC and UCLA and is also LA. But I think it's pretty rare, right? What is it like to serve in a capacity where one of your partners, if they're a good partner, I guess, is the Ohio State University? What are the advantages to being the Parks and Rec director in a big college town? Like, I know that there are college towns all across the country that have smaller universities and are still very much a college town, but this is a big city and this is a big university. People all across the world know Ohio State for sure.
Yes. One of the things I'll say is you're expected to be a Buckeye fan. So let me just put that out there first of all. So if nothing else, they're expecting you to be the fan. And so it's a little difficult, but I play well because this is home. And so, one of the things is we do partner with them on certain projects. And so we partner with them on a youth sports summer program. Cool. We partner with them on a health diabetic program for males throughout the city. And so and in their social work program, we also partner with them on. So there's all these pieces. But I will tell you, I think the biggest thing is when you think about the Ohio State University and what they bring to the table, they're in their own little city almost within the city of Columbus. And so not unless you're on campus, you are at a game or you're doing something with the university, you don't even realize that they're here without you seeing the Buckeyes everywhere.
Right.
Championship, I got to throw that out there. The championship signs everywhere. And so all these different pieces you see. But other than that, I mean, really, to be honest, I think Ohio State, when you look at them, they serve their own within the city. But the one thing that they do is they're great partners because they also want to make sure that how do they help the city? And so they come out and they are at some of our soccer events. They're at some of our golfing events. They're at some of our basketball events. So they're still a part of how do we make this community better, even though we are our own university within our own area, within the city. It works perfect for us.
When people used to ask me my dream job, I'd always say a park and rec director in a college town, because I just thought, first of all, a college community normally keeps you younger. They normally have professors in that community, so maybe a little bit more educated. And you would hope, if anything else, you'd have a pretty good hiring base of people who would be interested in part-time jobs. So I don't know if any of that was ever correct or not. Do you find any of that to be true?
It is true. I will tell you, the one thing about being a director, there's so many components, especially being in a large city. But the university brings its own. I mean, you have students that are looking for not just summer employment, but they're looking for year-round intern jobs. So we take advantage of that. That's really a great plus for us. I think outside of that piece, you do get a chance, you get an opportunity to meet some of the coaches, you'll get a chance to meet some of the people who are involved in some activities that come back to the city. So that's always a plus. But then there's also some other expectations within that as well. So,
Sure.
it works hand in hand, a little bit of here, a little bit of there. And so you have to balance the two, I think, which is really great.
If they expect you to be a Buckeyes fan, at the very least, you just can't be a Wolverines fan, right? That's just at the core. I'm sure they might accept someone from the South, but
Well,
Michigan.
Let me just say the blue and gold is definitely trouble in the city. It is trouble in the city. Now, I will tell you, since I've been here, Ohio played, and I am not necessarily a Georgia Bulldog fan, but I'm an Alabama Roll Tide fan. Have been for years. My parents are from Alabama, and Ohio played Alabama, and I had to make a decision.
Business decision.
Who are you going to support? And everybody kept asking that. I said, well, it's going to be hard because I'm a Roll Tide fan all football season. However, game day, I was a Buckeye fan and I supported the whole team. I tell people, you always got to support the whole team. And I pulled it off. I supported the whole team. And actually, Ohio won, but there was still a little piece of me. Still that Roll Tide, but don't worry, I picked them up the next week.
There you go.
So I was able to go back and forth.
Well, it's kind of a win-win. Like, no matter what happens in that, you're going to have some benefit to the outcome. So you're okay.
I was okay. And I'll tell you, if you think about it, both of them are red. However, I did put on an Ohio jersey, but both of them are red. So I could have gone very easy and just put on red for both.
There you go. That's good. Just no gray.
No gray. Nobody would have known. Nobody would have known.
So, Bernita, we're gonna transition into what we call rapid fire, where we ask a couple quick hitters. It's gonna be potentially just about you, about the city, about the job, and I do want to keep in line with the football real quick while we're there. What is it like? Can you give us a comparison? What is it like when Michigan comes to town? I'm just curious. From afar, I think anybody from afar hears about how hated and heated of a rivalry that is.
Well, everyone watches that game. If it's on, a Thursday, on a fall November day or whatever, everyone turns it on. It's on, and you catch 5 minutes or you watch the whole game. Yeah. It's always competitive. Yeah.
And Michigan fans are coming into the Lions Den, I'm sure, right? They're paying their money to get in there.
They're here. I'll tell you, we kick off the week with no M's everywhere. So if there's a word that starts with M, it's scratched out.
That's tough for Columbus.
Columbus is Columbus for that week. Every M is scratched out on the news, in the media. It's everywhere. Awesome. It's on campus. They go and they scratch every M. If there's the letter M is scratched out. There's also a blood drive that they do. So there's a competition. Michigan competes against Ohio. Who has the most, I would say, blood, individuals that are given? And you got to think about that. So you go, oh, okay. I'm trying to think some of the other things that are really, really no yellow, no blue the week. No yellow, no blue throughout the city. And you do have some fans that live here, Michigan fans that live here. So imagine when you see one and they're in their blue, they're in their gold. It's some bragging rights, and we go back and forth. And so it's one of those things, but it is a week of, you got to give it up to the Buckeyes that week.
That's one of those things where I think on social media, you should get on there and remind everybody every year that you can spell Parks and Rec without an M. That'll
You
be
can.
all. There you go.
I think so.
That's how much Parks and Rec hate Michigan. We spelled the whole thing without an M. That needs to be your campaign.
I love that. See, I'm going to write that down, Shane. Thank you for that.
No problem. That one's free. Okay, so I'll go next. What place should we eat at in Columbus? What place were you surprised by? You're like, I knew Columbus would have some pretty good food, but not this.
Bernita told me yesterday she is in it with the food, and she'd even give us a top 3. So I'm put her on the spot here.
So I'm going to start you out in the morning.
Okay.
The first place, I'm going to say we have a place called Catalina's. Pancake balls.
Let's go.
You got to go to, and it's spelled with a K. Catalina's. Got to get the pancake balls, and they have spicy bacon. Not just bacon, spicy bacon. So it's got a little sweet spice to it. Perfect. Now, I'm going to give you Jeff Ruby's. That's my steak place. It's in Nashville, but it's also here in Columbus. That's my favorite. Okay. I'm a Jeff Ruby fan. That's just boom. You got good food. You got good service. You got good atmosphere all the way around. You're going to top it off with a little Jenny's ice cream because Jenny's is here. Yep, got to get that. But if you want a late night pizza run, we've got 2 places. So you could get Donato's, but you can also get the late night pizza. And that's exactly what it's called, late night pizza. So you got Donato's, you got late night pizza, you got Jenny's, you got Jeff Ruby's, you got Catalina's.
A college town's always going to have good late night food. There's always going to be a joint in a college town where you can eat something at 2 a.m. That's just,
you gotta have
it. Might not be good at 2 p.m., but it's the best thing you've ever had at 2 a.m.
2 a.m. different meal.
I love it.
I'll tell you too, you just hit us all pretty good too. When you said ice cream, you had steak. Jay. I saw him you said steak. I saw Shane.
And you said pancake balls, and you got Tom. You're right to his heart.
No. Spicy bacon, though. Spicy.
I tell you, you can't go wrong with any of those places I just named. I'm telling you. And if you do, come and see me when you're here.
Okay. You'll give us the refund?
I'll give you a refund. Now, Shane, let me just say, don't eat the meal and then come for the refund.
That's right. Yeah. I got to. Yeah. I get you. I hear you. That's great.
We talked about the conference earlier, coming there, and my favorite tradition is every time I go to a conference, I usually get there a day or 2 early, and I go visit some parks. So what are the top parks I should go visit when I'm coming to Columbus?
So I'll tell you, Goodale is right downtown. I think that's a nice one. You've got another one, Schiller, which is huge. It's in German Village. And so really, really nice one. But what you're really going to enjoy is what we call our downtown Scioto Mile. It's a trail. It walks. It actually goes all the way from one side of town to the other. It passes through the university, coming all the way back to our south end. So if I hit some of I would say our really kind of unique specialized parks, one is Birdliner. We have a 32 softball turf complex. Yeah. 32 fields, turf softball complex. We are right now, which will be completed next year, a soccer complex. It'll have 6 turf fields, a championship turf stadium, and 6 natural grass fields. Be completed next September. So we are excited. That's in partnership with our professional soccer team as well. So the crew. So we're really looking forward to that. If I had to say another park, Linden, it's a community park, but it has multi-purpose fields. It has a pond there. People fish there. You also have a little soccer complex. You also have a community center, but then a splash park. And so all these different unique pieces that are there, it has the trail system there as well. So really unique parks. We've got some hidden things that are in the works, so I can't really go into details. But we've got one big project that I'm pretty excited about to be completed in 28. And so all surrounded by water and a water complex. Yeah. So we are excited about it. And then we're in works for a new therapeutic park. And so that's a huge one also. And so there's a lot of different parks here. A lot of them we're right now designing a 7-mile linear trail, which we call our Linden Green Line. And so real huge. If you're on YouTube, you could go on YouTube and Google it. You'll see how many stops it has along the corridor, that's 7 miles. And so you're talking about 30 different businesses. I think there's 9 schools that it surpasses on that trail. It also passes the soccer complex. So it's I would say the great. Yeah, it's great.
Wow.
That's awesome. I'm looking at the Berliner facility right now. It looks amazing.
Yeah. So I'm sure we'll probably do some type of tour when we do our site visits for our local hosts. And so we'll probably do all sports complexes. It'll have probably aquatics. It'll probably have softball. We'll probably put soccer in there and maybe some basketball type. That'll be a huge one.
Quick question for me. Germany, MWR, Rail Welfare and Recreation. How did you get into that? And what was that like?
You'd be surprised. So doing my master's and working on my master's in school, Western Illinois, I was on the student board for NRPA.
You went to Western?
Yeah, I went to Western.
I did too. Grad school. Leatherneck. Yep.
Macomb, Illinois.
Right, Macomb, homie.
Wow, small world. See?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, see? So, nice school. And here it is serving on the student board for NRPA. And because I had served in the military, they put me on armed forces. And I was like, I don't know nothing about armed forces recreation. I said I served in the military. I didn't say I did military recreation.
Recreation, yep.
And so while I was really ending my master's program, I said, you know what, why don't you apply for a position? And I applied for a position at MWR and got the job. And so went over to Germany and started working as assistant youth sports director in Heidelberg, Germany. Yeah.
I love that. Western was great. I'm a Texan through and through. We moved up in January and I thought, wow, what is this with snow? What is this? And it stays all year round. Like you just scoot it off to the side and just stay there.
That's it. And it doesn't go anywhere.
No, just sits there and gets uglier.
Yeah.
I went up there I went up there to coach, but ended up transferring into the rec side. And it's the second longest accredited university, or at one time it was, in the accreditation process, which is really cool. Sometimes you get lucky, and I just lucked into an incredible Parks and Rec degree that I didn't even go up there for, and I benefit from it for sure.
So you did Parks and Rec, and I did sport management.
Yeah, I was in the sports management program when I was there.
Yeah.
At first, and then I transferred in grad school, which is crazy.
Awesome. Yeah. I actually did one semester at University of Iowa, switched from University of Iowa and did a grad assistantship at Western. Yeah.
Yeah, I was a GA at Western too.
Okay.
Yeah. A lot of the similarities for sure.
Yeah.
My last question for you is 3 years. You've worked in this industry for a long time.
Yes.
3 years in RPA's there. That's like, guys, that's like season 11 of RecLess for us. That's how long that would be. What is your plan post NRPA? Is that your crowning achievement? Do you ride off into the sunset? Do you start a consulting firm? Do you go back and teach at Western Illinois? What's the plan?
You know what? You hit it dead on the nail. So let me just say, in 22, when I first came back, I came in saying, let's do accreditation. That was the first thing. And in 23 conference, we achieved our accreditation. In 24, and these are actually set goals that I had on a screen on a board, and one of my deputies still has it on his board. And in 24, it was to receive first place NRPA award. We received first place NRPA award in 23, and it was the voice program under youth development. Yeah.
Cool.
And so this year we are working on our 10-year vision plan. We call it Playbook Columbus.
Oh, cool.
So we are working on that. We will start next year, probably the latter part of next year, going into 27 for gold medal. And that's my goal. And then 28, conference, 29. Yep.
Drop the mic.
And so, that's what I've said. But, who knows? Who knows? So it's one of those things that I keep telling myself. When I look at this cup here, I do say, a little bit of this is where I belong. And so I look at it and go, yeah, this is where I belong. And so I think it's crucial to look at it from that standpoint. Looking forward to it. So who knows where we go?
Well, I really enjoy that story too, just of you setting those goals. And that's, for anybody out there who sets goals, you're a great resource to talk to on how to achieve them. So, I appreciate you sharing that. My last question before we let you go is Tiny Tim. Give us the background.
So I will say, when I was born, I was very petite. And up until a certain point in life, I was very petite. I still am short. I was very petite though. And so my dad had a nickname for me, Tiny Tim.
Tiny Tim.
And so that's where that comes from. And then the butterfly is my mom. And so,
Cool.
You put both of them together, that's what I have, a Tiny Tim butterfly.
I love it.
Bernita, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate the time. And
Go Leathernecks.
Go Leathernecks!
We're looking to see you soon.
That's right.
Hey, I look to see you all in Orlando. Thank you all so much. Have a great one.
All right.
Awesome.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Fantastic. She's
fun.
great. So much energy. I met her just this last conference, and I think at that academy thing we were all kind of gathering around at. I think I met her somewhere.
Yeah.
Just socializing there, and I thought she was great.
Yeah, Jay and I had breakfast, and I think we ran into Lisa, Steven, and Bernita, maybe a couple other people. So, yeah.
Thanks for the invite, by the way. Appreciate that.
You slept in that day. You slept in. Great energy. Bernita's awesome. One of the best people out there, best professionals. And, man, what an impressive list of accomplishments. But then when she just highlighted all of the goals she set, and she is checking off every box. That's good stuff. So, all right, everybody. I know we're up against it here. We're going to let everybody get on with their day, on with their weekend. This will be our last episode of Parks and Recreation Month, and we're heading into NRPA Conference by the time you all listen. So we look forward to that, and we'll see you next time on RecLess. Bye, guys.
See ya.
This episode of RecLess wouldn't have been possible without the support of our agencies and our better halves, Melissa Salatino, Lindsay Tryon, and our executive producer, Hannah Mize. We also want to thank our director of hashtags and swag, Rooney Taylor, and our team of junior producers, Luke, James, Elizabeth, Grant, and Harper. Stay up to date on all things RecLess by following all of our social media, and like and subscribe wherever you get your podcast to ensure you don't miss an episode. See you next time on RecLess.